Let me be direct with you from the outset. What we are witnessing is not a temporary lapse in American foreign policy. It is not the simple diplomatic maneuvering that the mainstream media wants you to believe it is. What we are witnessing is a fundamental shift in the global order, one that the architects in Washington are desperately trying to ignore because they have no effective response. I am looking at a series of intelligence reports and maritime traffic data that have been circulating among regional defense analysts for the past 72 hours, and I need you to look at them with me because what they show is not a routine patrol. It is not a standard defensive posture. It is not a demonstration of conventional naval strength. What it shows is a complete breakdown of the deterrence model that has held the Persian Gulf in an American-controlled stasis for decades. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly why this shift is permanent, why the standard American playbook is no longer viable, and why the consequences of this failure will be felt in every household from Washington to Tokyo. This is geopolitical analysis. Subscribe now if you have not already, because what we are about to cover is being actively analyzed by military strategists, and you are not getting this depth of perspective from the mainstream networks. Let's start with the geography of the Strait of Hormuz, because understanding the physical reality is the only way to understand why the policy is failing. The strait is, at its narrowest point, approximately 33 kilometers wide. To put that in perspective, a modern naval strike group operating in that space is not maneuvering freely. It is effectively trapped in a confined operational environment. This means that any force capable of utilizing asymmetric, coastal-based denial tactics holds a massive advantage over high-value, deep-water assets. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, the shift toward these coastal denial systems has been accelerating since early 2025. Admiral Marcus Higgins, a retired analyst, has stated publicly that the era of undisputed transit through the strait ended the moment these anti-access systems were deployed at scale. This is not speculation, this is the reality of modern literal warfare. Subscribe if you are watching this and realizing you are not getting this level of analysis anywhere else. Now, let's talk about what Washington's next move actually looks like and why it is already destined to fail. Announcement number 1, the deployment of long-range autonomous silent propulsion systems. And this one matters more than anything else happening in this theater right now because it changes the acoustic signature of the entire Gulf. We are talking about vessels designed to sit on the seabed for weeks, effectively undetectable to traditional sonar arrays. These are not just mines, they are intelligent, mobile denial platforms that can distinguish between commercial traffic and military assets with frightening accuracy. According to reporting by Defense Security Asia and confirmed by multiple regional military attachés, these systems have been integrated into a unified, encrypted command network. They aren't just sitting there, they are observing. The Pentagon has acknowledged, albeit in quiet, closed-door briefings, that they lack a reliable countermeasure for this specific class of silent, stationary threat in such shallow, high-clutter waters. This isn't about one or two ships. We are tracking reports of over 40 of these systems currently deployed across the choke point. That number matters because it saturates the area, making a clearance operation by the U.S. Navy mathematically and logistically impossible without escalating the conflict to a full-scale regional war. Received. That is announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, the failure of the economic blockade. This is the part the Pentagon has confirmed, though they will never admit the reason why. The goal was to force a collapse of energy exports by driving insurance rates so high that no tanker would dare enter the Gulf. But the market has adapted. Alternative shipping registries, non-Western insurance pools, and direct peer-to-peer trade agreements with Asian energy importers have rendered the blockade ineffective. This is not a minor policy setback. It is a complete collapse of the economic lever that Washington has used for 40 years to coerce regional actors. And when you understand the connection between these insurance bypasses and the new regional security pacts, it becomes a critical issue for the dollar-denominated global energy market. Stay with me, because this is where the narrative completely changes and where the implication for the global economy becomes impossible to ignore. Announcement number 3, and this one almost nobody in the mainstream media is connecting correctly, Washington's move toward a new, enhanced presence in the region. They are shifting from a blockade strategy to a patrol and protect narrative, but they are doing so without the support of their traditional European allies. When the United States announced its new maritime security coalition, the response from key European capitals was, at best, tepid. They didn't just refuse to contribute hardware, they actively began organizing alternative diplomatic channels to bypass the American presence entirely. The reason this outcome is the same as the failures in the past is simple. It is a rejection of the status quo. Received. That is announcement number 3. Now let me be direct about what is really happening behind the headlines because there are 2 stories playing out simultaneously, and the mainstream media is only covering one of them. While you hear about freedom of navigation and international law, the real story is the loss of influence. The White House responded by calling on its allies to step up. This has not notably changed their position. Think carefully about what this represents. When the United States attempts to lead a security initiative and its longest-standing allies not only refuse to participate in the tactical implementation but openly work on separate diplomatic tracks, that is not a misunderstanding. That is not diplomatic nuance. That is a verdict. If you are a regular person wondering why the cost of goods is climbing or why freight costs are fluctuating with every news cycle, what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz is not a foreign policy story. It is a personal impact story that touches your wallet, your energy bill, and your cost of living. This pattern has repeated throughout history, and every time it repeats, the outcome is the same. Look at the Peloponnesian War. Two great powers, Athens and Sparta, exhausted each other in a series of proxy conflicts and naval skirmishes, and while they were busy bleeding their resources and their political capital, a third power rose to fill the void. The parallel is exact. Washington is currently the overextended hegemon, the regional actors are the local powers fighting for their sovereignty, and the third party, the emerging multipolar order, is watching and waiting. So, where does this leave us? Let me give you two clear paths because there is no honest middle ground here. Path 1, the optimistic scenario for Washington. They realize the current policy is unsustainable, pull back the naval assets, and negotiate a face-saving withdrawal that acknowledges the new reality of regional security. The conditions required for this are a major shift in domestic political pressure and a recognition that the military-first approach is bankrupt. The likelihood of this is, unfortunately, very low. Path 2, the path we are currently on. The pessimistic scenario. An accidental engagement, a miscalculation in the strait, or a desperate move by an increasingly isolated administration triggers a localized but intense kinetic conflict. The consequences would be an immediate, catastrophic spike in energy prices, a total shutdown of the strait, and a global economic contraction that would make the 2008 crisis look like a minor correction. I think we are closer to Path 2 than the headlines suggest. The momentum is already locked in, the naval movements are already scheduled, and the rhetoric from Washington is becoming increasingly disconnected from the reality on the ground. But there is a caveat. The regional actors know this, and they are doing everything in their power to avoid that spark. Here are the questions I want you to take away. Who actually benefits from the current instability? Is the administration in Washington capable of admitting they have lost their leverage? And what happens to the global order when the world's policemen can no longer open the door? Tell me in the comments what you think the administration does next. Do you think they are truly prepared for the economic fallout of Path 2? Tell me if you think we are on Path 1 or Path 2. We will keep tracking every development in the strait and the broader regional security architecture. That is what this channel does every single day. Subscribe now. Share this analysis with everyone in your network who is trying to understand the disconnect between what you hear on the news and what is actually happening in the world. Turn on notifications so you do not miss the next update, and we will see you in the next analysis.